Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Flynn, and I'm here with
Scott Lang.
and we are the Band Dads. Here to bring you a podcast about something that we care very dearly about, which is music education and band.
Some of you are here because you want to learn about all things band. Some of you are here because you want to see a train wreck, and the answer is yes to both of those. We don't care why you're here. We're going to answer all the questions. We're going to say the things you're thinking. We're going to debunk all the myths.
Yep. This is the Band Dads Podcast.
The podcast by and for confused band parents.
Nice. You said the tagline. Like fancy pants, nice, expensive Apple computer can't play DVD? Is that
There's no DVD tray in it
Oh
anymore.
my gosh. And how much did you pay for that thing?
You still have a DVD drive in your computer? What is it,
One of them does.
1992?
So one of them does. I run a 2 PC setup. That's how fancy I am.
You are twice as not cool as I thought.
I run a 2 PC setup, actually.
You 2P what?
2 PCs.
Oh, I thought you were talking about...
Not iMacs or whatever you call these contraptions. No, one of them actually does
Why don't
have...
you go wipe that surface?
One of them actually does have a drive built into it. The other one, I think I do have like an external that I can just plug in if I need to use it. But
I would just like to make sure those are saved permanently.
Well, we were talking about collections, and that's so my physical collections, one of the things I collect is physical music. So I'm
Do you collect albums?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have a really nice turntable sound system.
I have a couple of turntables that I've restored. So like I'm one of those people that believes that I can buy, on Marketplace, I can buy a $60, Techniques from the mid 80s and just clean it up a little bit, put a nice cartridge on it, and it works just as good as any $500 thing you'll buy today. So I have a couple of record players that I fixed up and cleaned up, and then I have a bunch of vinyl, but CDs too, actually. I have CDs too.
Well, man, vinyl's making a huge comeback.
Yeah,
it's huge.
Which is unfortunate because it also drives the price up.
I would imagine it does, like everything else.
It's unfortunate it drives the price up. But I do have a physical collection of music. So
testing 1, 2, 3.
All right. Hello, everyone. The Band Dads are back.
Absolutely.
Chris Flynn.
Scott Lang.
We're here yet again. We're now here with episode 6.
Episode 6.
Oh, do you speak Spanish?
I do.
Wow.
Actually, yo hablo español.
Well, why don't we do a whole episode where you speak Spanish and I have no idea what you're saying and see how the ratings are on that one? How about that?
Could they be any worse than our other ratings?
I mean,
it would open up a whole new continent
actually
to
in your
us.
segment. You're
Wouldn't
not
it?
Wrong.
We don't have anyone from South America. By the way, we have now someone from every continent, I believe, but Antarctica and South America.
Okay, so you know what's interesting?
That
I would love to hear.
Enough?
Well, you sparked a thought that I had, which is whoever the person that's listening to this podcast in Dubai is, please email us. Send an email to feedback@banddadspodcast.com. I would love to meet or identify or give recognition to the person in Dubai or the group of people, actually, because there's a whole bunch of listens. There's streams that are coming from Dubai. I just want to make sure it's a real person and not somebody training their AI with our podcast. Because I'm kind of convinced that's actually what it is.
If this is how you train AI, that is stupid AI.
It is actually. You just take recordings of people, feed it into your AI. That's how they do it.
To my friends from Down Under.
Oh, yeah.
How's that? Was my accent good?
No. But we know what you meant.
Why
so
did
that's
you,
fine.
like, our episodes from Down Under exploded on the Marching Band episode when Marching Band doesn't exist in Australia. So if you're from Down Under, I keep saying it, by the way.
Here's the thing. But I don't want to deny Australia, because if Australia wants to invite us to do like a live show there or something, I'm open to that. So you know what? We love Australia. We're totally down.
Absolutely.
We love Australia.
Listen, I learned my lesson after shaming Dayton on the last podcast.
So that's a good segue into something else. So if you haven't listened to the Band Dads mailbag number 3, Scott does have to open mouth insert foot a little bit with Dayton.
I ate some crow
with Dayton
from a listener from Dayton.
You did. So you made things right.
I tried. And he sent me a list of stuff. None of it was from this century. None of it was relevant.
How about this, folks? You go listen to the apology. If you haven't listened to the Band Dads mailbag number 3 yet, go listen to it. And you judge how you feel his apology was. How about that? You let us know. Again, feedback@banddadspodcast.
Am I going to get another email from Dayton?
Well, yes. Well, again, I don't want to spoil the other city that you slandered in that apology, because we're going to hear from them eventually too, and then everybody will get to find out who that is.
Oh, my goodness.
That said, I guess I'll give you the opportunity up front. is there anyone else that you would maybe like to issue an apology to before we get into our formal content today?
Well, you seem to be of the opinion that I am not as kind as I should be to trombone players.
Oof, you hit the nail on the head there. I'm just waiting for the riot to begin. I'm waiting for them to show up.
They're too stupid to find me.
Oh, here we go.
I'm doubling down, Chris. I am doubling.
We did hear from one trombone player who made it pretty clear, but they seem to have a good sense of humor at least, But I hope you all have a good sense of humor about this, because I will tell you, I could just think of the kids who play trombone at our high school, and they're all exceptional people. Exceptional. National Honor Society, exceptional people.
I'm a drummer, so my judgment is suspect to begin with.
Yeah,
so
no
you have to
kidding.
take everything I say in this podcast and in life with a grain of salt.
Yeah, many, many grains of salt. Having to swallow those grains whole, for sure. Anyway.
Is there any other way to swallow a grain of salt than whole?
I mean,
Do you cut it up?
You could chew it a little bit. Chew on it. Take your time.
What kind of salt lick do you have
You're
sitting around
supposed
your
to
dinner
reduce.
table? Do you
Scott,
sit
at
at
our
the dinner
age,
table and
you
then
reduce-
walk over to a deer salt lick and just lick it?
No, that's what I'm saying. Take your time anyway. Enjoy your salt, okay? We're not supposed to have that much salt at our age, so enjoy it while you still can. All right?
I'm watching the podcast viewership just plummet as we speak.
Hey, we're having fun. We said we don't care, right?
Absolutely.
This is the train wreck part.
We've only got
You know
two
what's
episodes
funny?
left?
Actually, I disagree. I think people like this more. How about that? I think people have me start talking about analytics again and watch what the ratings do. Okay, how about that?
You're on. So send us feedback at feedback at Bandheads.
By the way, guys, I don't know if you know, but for a living, I'm a data analyst. I had to work it in. I hadn't said it yet this episode, so I wanted to make sure I said.
Well, there went my 2 pages of notes about you being a data analyst.
Gone. Let's move on.
All right, let's
We know
wing
what Chris
it, dude.
does. We know
Let's
what Chris
wing
gets
it.
paid for.
So what are we talking about this week?
What professionally, Scott? What did you used to do professionally? As a matter of fact,
I was a band director.
you were.
I was.
Interesting. So that's why you know so much about this activity that we talk about all the time.
That and I just have a sad, pathetic life.
Oh, wait. Because you were a band director?
Pretty much they go hand in hand. If you ask my family, they call me king of the band nerds. That's my official title around this house.
But you're just excluding yourself here. Again, I don't want to upset now. Now, in addition to many cities across the country and trombone players, I really don't want to add band directors to the list of people who are upset with you. So you're saying just this is you personally. You're
No,
not
absolutely. No. Band directors, I got to tell you, they're the most incredible, hardworking,
Absolutely.
caring,
Yeah.
diligent, good-looking, smart, savvy, sophisticated.
Remember, he did say everyone but himself that he's talking about right now. So
No, band directors, including the one that teaches our children, there's nobody I respect and admire more.
yeah. So
Period.
so tell me how did you get involved? How did that become your career path? How did Scott Lang say, "Wow, I want to be a band director"?
It's the same reason most teachers want to become teachers is because they were inspired themselves by a teacher.
Okay.
If you asked 100 band directors, how did you end up a band director? 90 of them would either tell you that they were inspired by a band director, or they would tell you someone in their family was a band director.
Okay, no, that's fair.
This is a very closed circuit loop. Like you don't play football and graduate high school and go, I think I might want to be a band director.
Gotcha. Could it also go the other way? Could people do it out of spite and say, man, I'm better than my band director. I'm going to go be a band director because I could do it better than that person. I'm just curious.
None of my students.
As far as you know.
Well, I did have about 16 of them go on to be teachers, but I never asked them if it was out of spite.
If we have any former students of Scott Lang who joined the profession out of spite for Scott Lang and his teachings, email us. Let us know.
If we have any former students of mine, whether they became a teacher or not, email us. Let us know.
All right. Let us know. Yeah, you know what? I need proof that Scott was actually a director. So somebody email me and confirm that point for me. But okay, so tell me about the process. What does the education look like? What does the school look like?
So
what do you have to do to become a band director for?
It's the whole goal. I've become, in a Machiavellian sense recently, I've become convinced that the whole purpose of a college education, being a music teacher, is to convince you to not be a music teacher.
How so?
Now, think about this. So if you went to college.
Yes.
Okay. A typical college degree from our local prestigious state university, Arizona State University, go Devils,
Yes.
is 121 hours for a bachelor's degree, 144 hours for a master's degree. Fair point?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. My bachelor's degree was 143 hours.
Holy crap.
Oh,
That was my bachelor's. And by the way, 74 of those hours either met every day or were for one credit.
Really?
Usually every semester I took between 9 and 11 classes to carry a load of 17 hours.
So if you line up, let's say, I don't know, one degree against the other, and you have those additional hours, what's the difference? What work are you putting in that someone of a different degree is not?
It's number one, the frequency of the class meets. So let's say if I'm doing an instrumental methods class, it meets Monday, Wednesday, Friday for an hour. Make sense?
Yes.
You only get 1 credit for that class, where if that were an English class, I'd get 3 credits for that class.
Yeah.
So I'm doing 3 times, or I'm doing the same work for 1/3 the credit, or music theory was a 3-credit class, but it meant 5 days a week. And so literally it's almost mathematically impossible to get a music education degree in 4 years because it's literally a 5.5-year degree. When I graduated with my music education degree, I was 1 credit shy of a master's degree.
No kidding.
And I went to school 5 days a week, and I literally, and Saturdays, because I was in the college marching band as is required.
Yeah.
And I went to school from 7:30 to 4:30, and I got maybe 30 minutes for lunch. I started with 132 music majors. I graduated with 3. Everyone else washed out.
Wow.
It is the hardest thing I've ever done other than raise my kids. So when you come out of that, and I say this kind of jokingly, but kind of not, you're either really stupid or you're really dedicated.
Yeah.
Because it really, if you can get through that, you can get through the job. But if you went to school Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 8 to 11:30 and had to jump into the role of a director of bands that works 90 hours a week, you would wash out. So it's both to repel people that won't be successful, but also prepare people who will be successful.
Okay. So no, that actually makes sense. Now, the question is, so compared to, let's say, somebody who goes so I don't know if you know this, which you probably don't because we haven't talked about it, but that's actually what I went to school for. I actually went to school for education, to be an educator.
Really? You would have been a great teacher.
Thank you.
You would have been a great teacher. What subject?
I was going to do secondary social studies.
Yeah. So if I couldn't teach music, I'd do social studies. I think history is fascinating.
Yeah. So I actually went to school for education as well. So anyway, what I was going to ask
Did you get a degree in education?
So no, because about the time I was finishing, I realized, especially starting a family, that
you hate children?
No, not at all.
Do we know that? Have we talked to your children?
Yeah. Email. You know our email address. Children email.
You've got mail.
No. So. No, actually,
you just asked your children to email their father. Do you not live in the same house?
Very good, does it?
Children, be sure to send me
text you in the same household. That's what
children
kids
of
do
the Lang
now.
family. Please send me text. Please send me smoke signals and or Morse code to tell me that I love you.
If you called your kid on the phone right now, he'd be like, "Why are you calling me?"
My kid wouldn't pick up.
Okay, see, he will text you. What do you want, Dad? I'm doing something. Anyway, so I went to school to be in education. Anyway, short story is when I was younger, when I was like 18, 19, one of my first jobs was I used to run like a summer camp program and an after school program. And I fell in love with working with kids and it was a lot of fun. As I grew into an adult, I realized, again, teachers aren't treated fairly. They get paid really, really, really terribly. And if I wanted to have some sort of financial stability in my life, I probably didn't want to be a teacher. So I shifted gears and went to interdisciplinary studies and ended up being education. And it kind of was music because I took a lot of music classes. But anyway, different story. The question is, so if it's that difficult, it's that many extra credits, all these people are dropping out doing it. Is there really any incentive to do all this other than passion? Like, does a band director maybe make a little more money teaching than somebody else does? Like, what's the incentive to put yourself through that process?
No. There might be small extra duties type, but only if you teach a high school marching band. If you don't, then you don't. But here's the thing you have to understand. I did not choose music education. Music education chose me. There was no other option.
Well, that sounds very cliche. Explain that to me. What do you mean?
Thank you. I'm thinking about selling that, embroidering it, and selling it on along with our certificates and our infographic. What else are we selling? Bandad coin.
The catalog is growing for sure.
My point is, once you get it in your soul that you want to be a band director, there is no other pathway.
That's fair. Okay.
I mean, and I'm telling you, there were countless times when I was going through 5 days a week and I'm at the marching band field till 11:30 at night on a Saturday, that I thought to myself, this is insane. Or more than one time I slept in a practice room because I needed to get my 20 hours in that week before my lesson the next morning. There was more than one occasion I thought, this is straight insanity.
Right.
But I can't not do this.
Good for you.
And I honestly believe that for most music educators, they would tell you that they couldn't not do this.
Okay. Which, honestly, I think that you explaining that to myself, and I hope other parents kind of see some of the same traits in their band directors. Again, it makes me think of our current band director, and why he is the lunatic that he is in terms of his dedication to his craft. And
it's incredible.
That explains a lot of it.
And beyond that, you have to understand, like, this is an incredibly competitive field. English teachers don't get their scores announced on the school announcements, do they?
No.
Math teachers do not have to get judged in front of 4 other math judges to tell them they're not good.
Well,
and science teachers don't go to a competition on Saturday and get ranked on their science exams.
I would like to say that our school's media could do a better job. Basha Bear Network, I'm looking at you.
Well, who's throwing shade?
I don't know.
I call out Dayton. You
have
just
this
slammed our
national
own school.
award-winning program that we get about 10 seconds of coverage for doing something like going to San Antonio and participating in a national event. Anyway.
But that would be, and hypothetically speaking, if someone had a band director named Smiles Smenny, and he taught at Smasha High School.
That'd be a very unique name for the person and the school.
That would be.
That's not familiar to me at all.
And it's oddly similar to the name of our band director. But
it is?
The story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
That's part of our job, is
Purely
to educate our school community about the things that we're doing.
But how? How can you possibly do that when you're consumed by
can't.
the activity itself?
You can't. That's the thing. You can't. So you let it go. That's not going to register a difference, because you wake up every day and you think, what can I do to move the needle forward today? You and I talked about, that I was observing a rehearsal at another high school, and it was all I could do. I mean, I had to physically restrain myself from running on the field to fix some bad drill. I heard an F sharp and it was supposed to be an F natural, and I literally almost started rocking back forth like I was on the spectrum, because I'm telling you right now, I can't see a problem and not fix it. I can't go to rehearsal and not want to make the band better. I can't do it. It's
gotcha.
like, you see how I can't not.
Yeah, I don't know if I can edit maybe the nerve on zoom in on Scott's forehead and the thing that's popping out. No, I'm just kidding.
Because it is inside of me, and it will be there till the day
fair.
I die.
That's fair, but
I don't know how it got in there. I want to be really clear.
You
Now,
don't? You don't have any
I
idea?
remember the day that I said I want to do that. That's super cool. I was
Okay.
in the 2nd grade, but I don't know how it crawled inside of me and decided to take root and grow. But I will be a music educator till I die. Now, I may not be tied to the same classroom. You may switch a school. You may go to a different grade level. You may go from band to choir.
Sure. Yeah.
But once it's in your soul, it will be there forever.
So because I can also think about the experience being very different depending on what grade level you end up at, for
100%.
example, right? Because
100%.
So for me, as an example, we talked about coaching previously, right?
Yeah.
So I've coached at kind of some different levels. I've coached younger kids who don't really understand how to play a sport, right? In basketball, they don't really dribble; they just run up and down, right? And then I've coached older kids who are more developed, who have a higher skill set. For me, it's hard to coach the younger kids because I want to, like you, I want to be able to teach them certain concepts, and just having fun or just doing it the wrong way is like not okay with me. So is it just people end up that way because some people are more tolerable of situations, that they're willing to do things on a more basic level? Does that matter? Or is it really just you end up where you end up?
Anybody who became a music educator that went, gosh, I don't care what level I teach.
Okay.
I'd love it all the same. I could never teach anything other than high school.
Yeah.
I've been in a middle school band room. I might hurt someone.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always say, I get why you teach elementary school. They're so cute, and they're not very skilled, but they're so lovable. And I know why you teach high school. They're not quite as lovable, but they're so brilliant and smart. I don't know why you teach high school, because they're too old to be cute and they're too young to be smart.
Yeah.
I could never do that.
Yeah.
So I think you self navigate to the place where you're comfortable. And it's not good or bad. Like, I worship elementary music teachers who start this journey, because without them, we wouldn't have music in our world.
Yeah,
but I know that
true.
can never be me.
Yeah.
Just like, I guess I know I could never be a math teacher. I know I want to teach, but I could never teach out. You self-navigate to the place that brings you joy.
That makes sense. Yeah, no, that makes sense. But there's a lot outside of the scope of, so just being passionate for like music and the level of music you want to teach, there's a whole bunch of other noise that's involved there. So especially, you just talked about high school kids. So, I mean, how then again do you deal with, you want to be a teacher, you have passion for music, all that, but now you have to deal with high school kids and hormones and, I don't know, just the responsibility of taking care of this level of child who's almost an adult, and like
kids are easy.
Oh, really?
Adults are hard.
Really?
Yeah, and they're just as temperamental, and they're just as egotistical, and they're just as much hormone and rage driven.
Gotcha.
So, I think you get into this profession because you love kids. Like, I just love kids. And
Sure.
we're going to talk about it in the band in the next episode. But like when I sign up for anything, if you notice when I volunteer, it's always to be around the kids.
Okay.
I don't want to do props. I don't want to load the truck. And they're wonderful people to the Bachelor band parents who are listening.
Oh yeah, we're not
Wonderful
sliding.
people.
We're not. That doesn't mean we're sliding those
Yeah,
responsibilities
but-
whatsoever.
I don't want to be around adults.
Yeah.
I turn on the TV. I read the news. Adults suck.
Gotcha.
I want to be around teenagers. So I navigate to a place and space that brings me joy. And for me, that's kids.
Yeah. Okay. So, okay. I mean, as long as it's not, as long as it's not uncomfortable, as long as you're not like walking around trying to say, talking about risen people up and stuff. You know what I'm saying? You know,
I would never accused of lifting people up. Never.
Brother,
anyway, that would be funny. Maybe, you know what? Maybe that'll be a fun social media segment. I'll bring into you a bunch of teenage slang words. I'm going to throw them at you and we'll see if you know what they mean.
No, I won't.
Some Zoomer language.
No, you bring in my wife. She'll tell you right now, I'm going to miss every single one. You should clip back to that. You said you got to use a modern musician. I said Kenny G, and you said the name.
Oh, Leife. Yeah.
I still don't know who that is. And
Which
that
is
was
funny
3
because
weeks
I
ago.
didn't even go. And I guess even the reason why I said Leife itself is she's a musician and a singer. She's a vocalist, but she's almost in kind of like a jazz context, which is interesting. That again, this is one of those things that platforms like TikTok are good and bad because unfortunately a lot of bad stuff gets promoted. But every now and then, an artist who's actually good, who does good music, gets promoted. So I said Leife because I thought she might be a little closer to the wheelhouse of where you may have been aware of. So anyway, that's it.
So you said something I think is worth circling around. So we talked about what it takes to get to be a band director. So now think about this for a second.
Yeah.
You graduate. I've got my degree. Now, if you get a degree in business, if you get a degree in data analytics, your first job is going to be what?
Entry level. You're starting at the very beginning. You're a blow man on the totem pole, even with a degree.
Yeah, I started my first day on the job. They gave me the keys and 120 kids.
That's insane. Yeah.
I had an instrument budget that was worth well over $1 million. I had a facility that was probably 7,000 square feet, and we traveled out of state lines.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like everything that gets you to the door, to unlock that door to be a teacher, is not what prepares you to be successful once you cross through that door.
Okay.
And it's the only profession, sans Texas, where you start as an assistant at the second junior high and you work your way up.
Structured there.
Yes, sans Texas. Okay. I don't know of any other profession in which you graduate and become the CEO the next day. You're not prepared to be the CEO.
That's fair.
You're probably not going to be successful as a CEO.
I'm just trying to think of there are some trades, right? So like for like electricians and things you have to apprentice.
You're not the head electrician.
No. Sorry, you're right. I guess I'm saying that backwards. Yeah, I'm thinking the other way around. You said San Texas. Anyway.
Texas has it figured out. When you graduate, you become the third assistant at the junior high,
right.
and you get to do sectionals at the high school, and then you graduate to the second assistant at the junior high, and then you become the head junior high director, and then after 5 years and 17 winning contest superior ratings, you get to be the third assistant at the high school.
Gotcha.
There's a mentoring program.
Gotcha.
And then there's someone over you every day with 30 years experience that says, no, that's not how we do that. Let me show you a better way to do that. That isn't the case in 90% of our country. So not only am I getting a master's degree while I'm getting a bachelor's degree,
right.
Not only is I have a 93% washout rate, but then when you get out, there is no mentorship program, there's no development program, and you are the CEO and the custodian day one.
Okay, so with that in mind then, how long do you feel like it takes for somebody in that role as a new director to get their feet underneath them?
If they're really sharp, 5 years. If they're average, 7 years. For some, never.
Okay. So to that point, if anybody out there is dealing with maybe a newer band director, right? You're saying give them the benefit of the doubt a little bit, give them a little leeway?
Absolutely. And so wherever I went, for lack of a better term, I had a Scott whisperer. And so
a Scott whisperer?
A Scott whisperer. And that would be someone who could talk me off the ledge from doing something stupid.
Oh.
And it was not my very first band president, my booster board president. It was not. I had a great booster board president, but he wasn't the Scott whisperer. It was a lady who did the uniforms. And her kids had graduated 15 years ago.
And she was still there doing
uniforms. Still doing the uniforms. And I would say, we're going to go out and rehearse for 12 hours today. And she would go, that's a great idea, Scott. In the past, and she would talk me down from that.
Interesting.
And then as I evolved, it became my band booster president, and her name was Patty Cordes. And she would come in and close the door and say, just so you know, I'm kind of hearing this from the parents. And this was the best part of her. And she said, you don't need to worry about it. I'll take care of it. I'll shut it down.
She's just making you aware.
But then she was saying, be self-aware enough to not make that same mistake a second time.
Yeah, okay.
So wherever I went in my career, I had someone who could talk me down from something dumb. And maybe that was a credit to my self-awareness that I was inadequate in some ways.
Okay.
Maybe it was just luck. But what I would say is, and it doesn't have to be the band booster present, I would tell you that it just needs to be someone who can speak to the director without him throwing up a wall or her raising her cackles. Because when my natural, if I come at you with fire, your natural response is probably not
defensive.
Yeah, it's not water. It's more fire.
Yeah, it's defensive.
You have to find someone who can bring water to that situation.
Now, is this something that you would say, so maybe a lack of self-awareness? Is this a common trait amongst band directors in general, would you say?
I would be honest with you. I don't know that band directors as a general population are the most self-aware people.
Okay.
I mean, I think if you wandered into a ballroom of band directors, you would not be overwhelmed with their social grace.
Okay. So, but I guess so you're saying it's not that they can't necessarily accept the criticism, and especially if it's in the right format. But again, is it just they're so consumed by the responsibility that it makes it hard to see those things? Or,
it's no one's good at everything.
Okay.
Okay. So let me ask you this question.
I'm
Think about
surprised to hear that come out of your mouth of all people.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
This is episode 6. Shut it down. I'm going to drop this mic.
Sorry. I had to.
Folks, I'm in a loveless relationship.
We said we were taking a break earlier on. I don't know if you remember that.
Can't come
We're almost
soon
there.
Can't come
Almost
soon
there.
enough.
Anyway.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Obviously, no one's good at everything. Okay, look at our own band program. Give me the name of the person whose responsibility is to handle the finances.
Wait, I don't want to say people's names on the air, do I?
It's not.
Oh, it's not? Oh, the band director.
Bingo.
Oh.
Now, I didn't say boosters. Who's in charge of transportation?
Do we bleep the name out? They didn't volunteer to be on our podcast.
No one's listening anyway.
All right.
Transportation.
The band director.
Facilities.
The band director.
Students.
Themselves. No?
These are 14-year-old kids.
I don't know. That's the way I see it. I mean, I feel like a lot of teachers in high school are just like treating them like they're adults at this point. So anyway, that was more of anyway. The band director.
Facility requests.
The band director.
Newsletters.
The band director.
Concert programs.
Me.
Concert. You don't do the program, do you?
Yeah, I do actually.
You do?
Yeah.
I've got notes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, come on. You earned that one.
Really? I thought I was good at that.
For your comment earlier.
I do the programs. There's a QR code that you can download it and keep it as a memory even. Actually, we have pretty nice programs. Thank you very much.
Nothing says nerd like the term QR code.
Yeah, that's right. I own my QR codes. Thank you.
I'll bet you got one tattooed on you somewhere right now.
Not yet, but now I will, just because.
Where will that tattoo redirect to?
Well, that'll be a fun game in its own.
Okay, here's my point.
Yeah.
No band director is going to be good at all those things.
Yeah, that's
They're
fair.
going to fail at some of those
fair.
things.
That's fair. That's fair. But
so,
but why put them in a responsibility? Then why not give them somebody to help with those responsibilities? I guess it's just budget.
Because Americans
they can't afford it.
Americans don't want to pay for their education.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, whether you're right or left, Americans do not want to pay for their education.
No, you're right.
And so we're giving them. You have to understand this. So when I did a master's, this was a really interesting exercise, I thought. So when I got my master's, it's in pedagogy, instruction, curriculum, and assessment.
What the did you just say to me?
Pedagogy, instruction, curriculum, and assessment. It's not in music. I did not do a music master's because I didn't think that was going to take me to where I wanted to be.
Gotcha.
And I remember I was in class 8 or 9 or whatever it was. And we went Thursday nights and all day Saturday. And we were supposed to report what we did that week. And I had a teacher come in, and it was an elementary teacher, and it wasn't a music teacher. And they said, today I shadowed my principal and I filled out a purchase order in which we bought 17 textbooks. And I said, I planned a trip that's going to cost $748,000.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, and by the way, I had 14 performances, 7,000 people in the audience. I've got buses. It is an impossible job. The hardest thing I ever did in my life was raise my children. The second hardest thing I ever did in my life was get a music education degree. The third hardest thing I ever did in my life was be an actual band director.
So is this an example of something? Now, would you say that the hierarchy for these types of things is equal amongst educators within its own system? Meaning that, like, again, if we talk about field trips and all the additional responsibilities, let's look at like a sports team, for example. Mm-hmm. do they have help too, or are they also left to their own devices too? I'm just kind of curious if it's treated.
No,
the same
that's a great call. So I want to start with the truth, a truth bomb. Like my high school their football team had an athletic trainer, correct?
Athletic director.
Yeah, no, an athletic trainer.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, sure.
Every practice to ensure the kids were safe.
Oh, I see. Sorry,
I had more kids by a factor of 10. I didn't have one. They had an equipment manager who did all the helmets, did all the uniforms. No, that's my job.
Yeah.
A head basketball coach has 2 assistants, and there's 12 kids on the team. I've got 140, and I have, wait for it, no assistants.
Yeah.
So in that respect, no, they don't fund it the same. And by the way, my facility is worth 10 times more than their facility. My inventory is worth 10 times more than their inventory. And they don't take the football team more than 25 miles. Now, that's not to throw shade at the football team. That's to show you the breadth and depth of responsibilities that are placed on sometimes a 22-year-old.
Yeah. Yep.
It's not fair to the 22-year-old.
Yep.
It's not fair to the kids.
Yeah.
And it's not fair to the parents.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, to flip that, I will say, I think the 3 people that literally run a school other than the principal are the head football coach, the head basketball coach, and the band director. And I would tell you, every football coach I ever worked with would agree to that term.
Okay.
I never had a football coach not understand how hard I worked and what I did.
I see.
And I never underestimated the amount of work and time that they put in.
Gotcha.
So the 3 people that you want to make sure you have in the right spot because they can wreck a school, it's football, basketball, and band director.
Okay. Well, that's a good call out. Okay. That's good to know. And that was kind of my assumption, but I guess I just wanted to clarify because, again, there's a lot that we don't know as parents. We don't know what goes on behind the scenes. So I do want to share this. Because we've circled around it a little bit, that band director whisperer and the fact that band directors aren't perfect and we're asking too much of them. Band directors are going to make mistakes. They just absolutely are. Yeah.
If you anointed me director of bands tomorrow, I would make one before the end of business that day. I guarantee you. And I'd make another one the next day. It's unavoidable. So from the parent's perspective, I want to share 2 things with you. Number 1, that just because you have a concern doesn't mean the concern has to go to the band director. That you have to find the band director whisperer. And honestly, it might be the band director's spouse. It might be the band booster president. It might be you. But the point is...
It's not me.
I meant...
It's not me.
You, the listener, Chris. You're just not that smart. But the thing is... I want parents...
It could be worse. I could be a drummer.
Okay.
Here we go.
Look,
anyway.
Chris is just bottoming out in episode 6. He's trashing Scott. He's trashing the drummers. Pick a city and just...
I'm sticking up for my trombone players, okay?
You know what? Pick a city and just take it down now.
No. Anyway.
So the first thing I want parents to understand is when they have a conflict, you have to understand that you might not be the one that voices it to the director.
Okay.
That there's a time, a place, and a person that can do that.
Yeah.
The second thing is I've never met a band director, this is important, I never met a band director once that made the wrong decision by choice.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't based on intent.
Sure.
It wasn't based out of malice.
Sure, yeah.
It was based out of ignorance. It was based out of lack of understanding.
Yeah.
It was based out of lack of experience. And what I used to tell my students, it took me a long time to get to this place, but after 10 years, I'd start every parent meeting with the statement of, when I make a mistake, and it's not if, it's when, it came from a place of love and it came from a place of wanting to do what's best. It doesn't mean I made that choice.
Gotcha.
And when you have that concern, when you're at that point, take a breath before you reach out to me.
Okay.
Take a moment. If it's
That's
not
fair.
an emergency, if it's not going to hurt a child, then take a moment and take a breath.
Gotcha.
Before you respond.
Gotcha.
So those are the 2 things I want to share that for a parent
That's
is find the person who can bring that problem to its resolution in the safest, happiest way possible. And number 2, directors don't make mistakes out of malice. They make them out of ignorance and lack of awareness.
Well, and I would just give you, I guess, as a band parent then, in terms of a tip in order to find the right avenue or find that person, join the cult, which we'll talk about in the near future.
It's a cult, baby.
Join the cult.
It's a cult.
That's how you'll find the person. If you don't show up to those band booster meetings, if you don't involve yourself, you probably won't find out who that person is. So get involved. That's certainly just my tip as a band parent itself. Do you also feel like it's more of a challenge maybe in terms of how you how do you determine, I guess, the success of your students? Meaning that, to your point, if you're an English teacher, you understand that there's a grade that's either they accomplished this thing or they did not, right? How do you do that as a band director? Because it feels like there's a lot more gray area involved in music.
When you figure out that you shouldn't be necessarily measuring that in tangible, tactical ways, then that's when you're there.
Okay.
If you're looking for victories, if you're looking for trophies, if you're looking for first place, if you're looking for number of kids in all state, then you're doing it for the wrong reason. Now, those are byproducts of good teaching.
Okay.
They are evidence, but that is not my measurement device.
So again, from a parent's perspective, if we see the accomplishment as the goal, and maybe that's not actually what it is, and that's the reason why we're spending so much time at rehearsal, all these things, how do we get over the fact that that's what we think it is and see
if your child doesn't graduate summa cum laude, was their academic career a failure? If they're not the starting quarterback on the football team, where was their athletic endeavors a failure?
I gotcha.
If they were not the prom queen, should they not have gone to prom?
Gotcha.
You know, that's the thing. They're byproducts, and it feels good. I want to win. I want to get first place.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm a competitive dude, but I recognize that's not why I do what I do, and that's not how I measure what I do.
Yeah.
Honestly, the number one metric for me is enrollment. If kids are coming back, then I'm doing something right.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
So and it's not like, let's be honest, they're not going to use my skills later in life. No one's going to do 8 to 5 in bashes while they're in aisle 5 getting Pampers.
Sure.
No one's going to dress their baby up in little marching dingles and teach them how to walk.
Sorry, marching what?
Dingles.
What's a marching dingle?
Oh, well, now you call them Vipers. That's the band shoe that the kids wear.
They were actually called dingles?
Dinkles.
Dinkles?
Dinkles. After Harry Dinkle, the world's famous band director.
I don't know who that is.
Right there.
Oh, look.
Remember that cartoon character? Funky Winkerbean.
No, I don't. I'm sorry.
You're so not hip.
Dinkles?
Dinkles.
Oh, okay. From now on, I'm going to say, hey, guys, go throw your dinkles on and we'll...
They'll know what they are.
We got to leave the house.
They'll know what they are. They call them Viper. Like Viper makes...
do.
Okay, let's be clear. Like Viper makes those tennis shoes sound cool. Have you seen those? Those are the ugliest black shoes.
No, they are.
To all our listeners, can someone please invent a marching band shoe where you don't look like it's an orthotic for an 80-year-old?
So I know we've been here before. So then why do we use Vipers? Do they offer support? Are they durable?
And here's the thing. They're going to tell you, well, it provides increased comfort and support and archways, and they march in them for 7.5 minutes. You could put them in flip-flops and they'd be just fine.
Probably.
And Vipers are like $60 a pair. It's
depending on when you buy them, they may be more than that.
It's insane. Someone, please.
Band parents, this is a tip. If you know your kids are going to march in the fall, buy your kids shoes. If you don't have Vipers yet and you're not going to reuse them from last season, whatever, buy them literally by now. Buy them in April, because if you wait until fall... Again, it's the kind of thing on Amazon, because they have limited sizes. You're going to pay $80, $90 for a pair of these shoes. So buy them early.
How do you determine your life or your career's been a success? It's kids keep coming back.
That's fair.
And then when they graduate, they don't want to leave. That means you did something for them.
Okay.
And so the first thing I do when I look at my enrollment, and I will see, let's say 180 kids, I'll be like, oh my God, our numbers are way up. The first thing I did was count the kids who left. And my heart would ache. The 6 kids that didn't come back, and I would fester over it for days. The most unhappy day of the year was the day I got numbers, and it was never because my numbers went down. It was because I had lost kids.
Yep,
and I took it personally because it probably was me that drove them away.
Okay. Well, listen, I appreciate that perspective. And I mean, how do you get over it then? I don't know. I mean, I guess we could go into the psyche of another time. I know we want to get to some other points here, but so being the fact that you spend that much time, give them 5 years, get their feet underneath them. So after 5 years, then we see them improve. It gets easier. You get used to it. The job gets easier.
Absolutely. Sure. If you're a painter, can't you paint more efficiently after 5 years?
I mean, yes.
If you're a data analyst, do you not become more efficient with spreadsheets after 5 years?
But technology changes, right? And I have to keep up with this. And
so does music education.
That's what I'm saying. How do you...
In fact, my blog that goes out tomorrow is on this very subject. Okay. It's about 3% a year. And so if the kids march and play the same way that they did last year, their score goes down 3% because everyone else got better.
I see what you're saying.
Now think about this. Like when I graduated high school, we were a pretty good band. We did 16 pages of drill. We used flip folders. We only marched juniors and seniors. We rehearsed in the school day, and we played grade 3 music. 25 years, 35 years later, they're doing grade 5 music. They're involving freshmen all the way through seniors. They're doing 110 sets of drill. They're doing Chike 4 from memory with body movement.
I don't know what any of that means. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. Chike for?
Tchaikovsky.
Oh, Chike. Oh, there's a nickname? So when you're like buddies? Like, is that what it is?
He's dead. How much can we be buddies?
Let's go enjoy some Chike in our dinkles. Let's go. Let's go do that.
Chike and Dinkles.
We don't want to scare. We don't want to make bands sound so bad that people don't want to participate.
Is it too late to rename our podcast?
Chike the Dinkles?
You don't the Dinkles. It's Chike and Dinkles.
Oh,
Chike
that's
the
one of our
Dinkles
nicknames?
Sounds like something illegal.
Listen, as long as you're Dinkles, I'm good with it. I'm not Dinkles. That's all I'm gonna say. That's not me.
I thought we were going to do a podcast that would be for all ages. Now you're talking about my Dinkle.
Oh. All right, let's move on, or wrap up at this point. I don't even know where we're at.
I think it's probably the latter is the way to go.
I think we're probably
so. But I want to finish that point before we wrap up.
Yeah,
3% a year.
Yeah,
it doesn't seem like a lot. But
okay,
next year's show, and the phrase I used with another band a couple weeks ago, I was with the Brownsburg band, and I said, you got to do 3% to make pace, to keep pace with your competition. Then you got to add 3% to move up. If you want to move up.
Gotcha.
So it's 6%, but it's 3% a year over 25 years. And by the way, I actually used a math formula that I got off Google and the internet.
Well, that works.
Do you know what 3% over 25 years, which is the lifespan of a music teacher, you know what that adds up to be in terms of growth?
It would take me longer than it's worth staring
at. It's 109% growth.
Okay.
The activity is twice as hard as it was when I started teaching.
Oh,
I'm just really quick. Did English get twice as hard in the last 25 years? Did the periodic table grow by 100% over the last 25 years?
No, those things did not change.
Did the number of foreign languages change by 109% over the last year?
They did not, no.
Did the multiplication table change by 109%?
I don't know. Isn't this whole core math thing terrible? I don't know. Isn't it?
Honestly, Common Core is the smart way to teach math. It is. But that's for another subject.
Right,
and by the way, half our listeners just turned off the thing and swore at us. But the bottom line is, like, this job's never going to get easier. And to be clear, your kids accomplish things in 2024 that I didn't dream was possible in 2010.
That's pretty awesome to hear. Yeah.
It's
That's
amazing,
awesome to hear.
But it just makes the job that much more difficult.
Gotcha.
So when we're talking about the band director, it was impossible to get the degree. They got the degree and we made them the CEO and the janitor on day one. We gave them an impossible workload that's all encompassing with no help. And then we decided to ratchet it up by 3% every year until they die.
That's a lot to swallow.
It's a brutal job. But if you can do it, it's the best job on the planet.
Okay, yeah. What's the reward at that point? What's the payoff?
Well, now that I say it out loud, I don't really. It's clearly the pay. Oh wait, no, it's not.
No, it's not that.
It's clearly the really nice office. No, that's not that.
No, that's probably not it.
I don't know why we.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. Well,
it circles back to maybe that's the way we end this. Is the way we started, which is I didn't choose being a band director. Being a band director chose me, and it won't let go.
Okay, so the way I want to wrap up, just because I feel like some of the audience knows Scott from his professional career, some do not. So you are no longer in the classroom, right?
That is correct.
So tell us now your transition in terms of how you ended up from a band director to what you're doing now.
Well, transitioning is illegal now in this country, so I can't transition anymore.
No, we are not gonna. We are not gonna do that. We are not going there.
We just did.
Okay. Well, so for you professionally, how did you decide to leave the classroom to do what you do now, which maybe you can term the better coin? I don't know if it's consulting or what you would call it.
Mine was
shopping.
I called them. You always look for a window, right?
Okay.
A window of opportunity.
Sure.
All my windows aligned at the same time. So this is a true story. So I was sitting and having lunch in my cafeteria. I was 34 years old.
Okay.
And I was like, this is great. And I'm talking to the teacher and he goes, oh yeah. I go, when could you retire? He goes, oh, I'm past retirement age. I said, well, why haven't you? And being 34, I hadn't been self-aware enough to think this through. He goes, well, I've got a kid in college. I can't afford to retire.
Yeah.
And I went, well, wait a minute. Okay, I'm 34 and I'm about to get married. And we'll probably wait a year and have a kid. That puts me at 36. I will wait 3 years. That'll put me at 39, have a second kid. And I got to get through 20 years. That puts me at 39 plus 22. That puts me at 61 riding a school bus. And I taught in a high school only district, so I couldn't move down.
Yeah.
And I went, okay, the window of I'm about to get married and I've got to provide for this family. And if I'm ever going to take this risk, I have to do it now before I have kids.
Gotcha.
And I went, so what I did is I struggled with it until I one day woke up and I loved where I taught and I loved my students. I realized there's a school on every corner. If it doesn't work out, I'll find work.
Gotcha.
So I just walked in one day and quit.
Okay. No kidding. So you didn't have the formal plan at that point. You didn't.
I knew I was going to try. I wanted to try and travel around and do leadership workshops. Okay. I had done them with my own students. I'd done with other people's kids.
Gotcha.
And I did the math, and it didn't take a lot of workshops to equal my teaching salary.
Okay.
And so
that makes sense.
Then I did that, and then I got an itch inside me. I get about an itch every 7 years, and I started a nonprofit after 7 years called Be Part of the Music.
That's
and
incredible.
Then after 7 years of running the nonprofit, I went to work for a retailer in a consulting position, and so I will always be a music educator, but I may not always be on a podium.
Yeah. No, for what it's worth, I respect the heck out of all of the band directors out there and the work that you put in, just again, based on my own personal experience with our program and, and what our band director does. But I do think it's very cool that you also have the opportunity to kind of spread that influence on a wider scale. So I think that's very cool that you took that opportunity for yourself. And I think it does attest to the fact that people should have some confidence in themselves. This is a kind of a different subject, but have some confidence in yourself and your abilities, that sometimes if maybe something isn't the right fit, don't be scared to pursue the right thing.
And I think that's something young people intuitively understand better than older people.
You're probably right.
Is that
they have less responsibility to
well, that's for
to worry about.
That's for sure. But the thing I would tell to not just a band parent, but a band director is you can be in a profession, but a different place. You can be a music educator and teach private lessons. You can be a music educator and coach the marching band.
Sure.
You can be a music educator and do a church youth choir.
Yeah. That
you don't have to be tied to a classroom to have influence in this world.
Okay, that's fair. And actually, that just reminds me, and I want to give a shout out to the incredible trombone tutor that my daughter uses, who is not only a doctorate, but he teaches at multiple schools and does private lessons. And certainly that man bleeds music, and he's brilliant. So I just want to give a shout out to that trombone genius that needs recognition. Anyway.
So if any parents want to ask us a question that we haven't answered either in our quick questions or via this podcast, how would they reach out to us?
No, most definitely. So quick questions is something that Scott just mentioned that we're doing as a feature on our social media. So if you're not with us on our social media yet, please join us. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on TikTok. You can find us on Facebook, and you can find us on YouTube as well. Where
we get around now, don't we?
We try. we got to pick up an audience somewhere, But join us on YouTube if you haven't already. We do full-length video episodes of the podcast as well. If you just have a question for us, email is probably the best way to get to us there. So it's feedback@banddadspodcast.com. If you haven't poked around our website, which is banddadspodcast.com, we have all of our episodes up there. There's some additional stuff in the descriptions. There's links to specific documents that we use for episodes and things that we share with you there. And every platform that you listen to us on, which should be available everywhere at this point, you'll see in the description right at the top of every single episode, there's a little link that says send us a text. We love those text messages. Those come through to our website and we get that feedback directly. You don't have to go to our website or anywhere else. You can be in your Apple Music, you can be in Spotify. Click that link. It opens up your messaging app on your phone and you can just send us feedback right there. We make it as easy as possible.
To all the people listening, both parents and educators, don't be selfish. Share this podcast. The more we educate parents and the more we educate teachers and the more we educate kids, the more we grow this activity, the more we grow this activity, the more impact that we can have in this world. So please share what you hear if you like it and know that you'll help grow the sphere of not just this podcast, but grow the sphere of influence of music education.
You know what? That also reminds me. I feel like maybe there was something else that we were going to talk about this episode, maybe some sort of announcement or something, but we didn't get to it. Maybe we should just hold out for the next one.
I don't know what it is, so we should hold out to the next one.
Hold out for the next one. All right, folks, we'll see you next episode. Thanks for joining us. Take care, everyone. To stay up to date with the Band Dads podcast, visit our website, banddadspodcast.com. Want to communicate with the Band Dads? Send an email to feedback@banddadspodcast.com. The Band Dads podcast is a 5 Deuce Media production. For more information, visit 5deucemedia.com. That's numeral 5deucemedia.com.
For more information on Scott Lang leadership and solutions for music education, visit scottlang.net.